What did you have for lunch today? Food is more than what we eat, it is who we are. Have you ever thought what your food says about you? My own journey into the rich, complex world of Malay gastronomy is like reading a love story that's lost and I'm rediscovering it. This endeavor triggers interviews with custodians of food knowledge, food wisdom, travels to distant libraries across the globe, and reconstructing food scenarios that sometimes requires the whole village. Exactly 200 years ago, in 1824, the Dutch and British colonial powers carved out the Malay Archipelago into two different spheres, which eventually led to the creation of modern-day states. Food of the region, however, whether it's raw ingredients or dishes with all the stories and symbolism, have defied this fragmentation, for it has existed way before contemporary political boundaries. Behind me is a map of the Malay Archipelago, or Nusantara. As the original inhabitants would call it, Nusa means island, Antara means in between, so Nusantara, islands in between. Today, it is convenient to look at the sea as borders. But in the Malay world, rivers, streams, straits, the sea are cultural and social bridges. I call them bridges of love, for it connects all of us together. They are our highways, not of the Tamak sort. A reminder that Singapore is not just a discrete entity, but a node of a larger maritime network. When Singapore marked its bicentennial a few years ago, the government commissioned a royal garden. This garden had echoes of an older royal park in Palembang. No surprises here, as the founder of the Kingdom of Singapore was a royal prince from Palembang itself. So it was in Palembang that the Talang Tua inscription was discovered. This stone, dating 684 AD, is perhaps the oldest known surviving document that talks about early Malay diet. It is a celebration of edible plants. Four stood out: coconut, sugar palm, sago, and areca nut, all pillars of Malay cuisine. Clearly, geography is fundamental in shaping the cuisine of a culture. Not just the flora and fauna, but the soil, the climate, and the location on the map. Flavors spring forth from these conditions and settings. In the Malay language, there are 12 flavor categories, half of which is not translatable into English, as there is no English equivalent. And this is beyond the usual sweet, sour, spicy, and salty. Take, for example, lemak. Lemak is a taste category unique to Malay gastronomy, as is umami in Japanese washuku. Now, the video you see now is a machine pressing the kernel of the coconut, drawing that flavorful milk, the source of the term lemak. Now, there's a lot of coconut in celebration of food in Malay world. But not just because it's yummy, but because it has health benefits. Imagine walking to Whole Foods market today, you're probably going to be set back by $30 just for a jar of coconut oil. So one major priority of Malay food is the efficacy of ingredients. Hence the saying, why eat medicine when you can eat food that becomes medicine? So to the sea, the land, and the hills, we forage to concoct of a dish. So foraging was a way of life of the Malays. Concepts like sustainability, eating seasonal, eating local was already in practice before it becomes fashionable today. Look at the Malay word for ingredients. It is called ramuan. It comes from the root word ramu, meaning to forage. Now, you add the suffix an, it becomes that which you forage. Ta-da, you have the definition of ingredient, that which you forage. Like all stories of port cities, we see growth, we see the coming together of many cultures. Singapore had its fair share. In the 1820 Portmaster Report of the imports and exports of Singapore provided us with the list of raw ingredients. This tells us that this island is a food emporium. And this is just 1 year after the British landing in 1820. The British did not jumpstart a train ride. It jumped on a moving train, benefiting the practices and structures that's already existing. In other words, Singapore was already an established, thriving collection and distribution point of the region, not the often repeated sleeping fishing village narrative. So what does the list contain? Clarified butter from India, tea from China, spices from the Spice Islands, and then our beloved Gula Melaka, celebrated not just for its flavor, but also for, today we know it has the lowest glycemic index. And then we have sago, a staple of Malay food, but ubiquitous in German cookbooks of the 18th century. And then we have vermicelli, dried vermicelli from Siam, or what is now Thailand, or what we call Siam. So we have the dish, a Singapore creation. It got its name from the dried vermicelli from Siam. Now, incidentally, two other sources which introduced noodles to the maritime Southeast Asia are mee from southern China, that's from the Minnan dialect, and laksa from Persia. Here's an antique brass Malay laksa press, all 9 kilograms of it, a technology of the region from the 1800s. Now, the role of Singapore is important. It was the New York of Nusantara, centered on trade thanks to its strategic location, which played the role of as a transshipment and embarkation point of the pilgrimage to Mecca. It then bloomed into a center for publishing and printing. With a significant level of affluence, it became the hub for performing arts, from opera to movie making and music recording. So here's a gathering of talents, searching for opportunities in a new place. A new place calls for new recipes, experimentation, localization, hybridity, spawned new dishes. Mee Siam, laksa are two great examples. Food incubation is made possible by the confluence of cultures, and thanks again to the sea that connects us all. Now, the Austronesian world of Nusantara is sandwiched by two major civilizations. We have China to the north, India to the west. Both have engaged in trade for a very long time. Trade and commerce also brought people from the Near East and the Persianate world. Along the way, they introduced a new way of life, a new faith called Islam. And then the search for spices directly from the cradle, that's us here, launched the European expedition and exploration of the islands. They too brought new ingredients, new tools, and a different sensibility. Here we have the Portuguese unveiling to us the cake, or what they call bolu, made by incorporating air into the batter by whisking. In recent times, just 100 years ago, Okinawan fishermen, in search of new grounds, made their way to our waters. They too introduced novel ways to the fishing industry, with the use of cold storage, motorboats, and techniques for greater haul. So it is no exaggeration to say, having a Malay meal in Singapore is like savoring the globe on a plate. In a world that needs communality, food is such a great unifying force. The journey of food is a time travel of discovery, not just of flavors, but of our shared identity, thanks to the interconnectedness and cross-pollination. By uncovering the untold stories I rediscovered the lost love of Malay gastronomy. Thank you.